Hi, I'm Courtney and welcome back to Haven's Kitchen. Today we'll be making gingery miso baked salmon with red onions. This recipe comes together super quickly and is a great way to serve a lot of people with minimal effort. If this recipe sounds like one you'd like to try, be sure to subscribe to see all of our future recipe videos. All right, let's get started. So for today's recipe, we will only need a sheet pan. You can use a sheet pan that's approximately the size of your salmon. You really don't need it to take up too much space. So if you're working with a smaller piece like we are today, then you can use about a quarter or a half sheet pan. Don't feel the need to go for the full mamma jamma. So something that I think is really valuable whenever anybody is cooking salmon or you've got like this huge fillet of salmon, and sometimes in your local grocery store, you'll find that your salmon is coming to you in a fairly large slab. There are almost always going to be scales on the bottom of that salmon. Now, if you're getting your salmon from a butcher, you can always ask them to descale it for you. But I think that this is a great tip and trick for every home cook to have in their back pocket. This is my favorite part, and like scales might fly at you, but it's fine. I mean, it's not fun. I don't want to tell you about your bodily autonomy, but like they won't harm you. So it's really important that when you're scaling your fish, and this applies to really any kind of fish, is that you're using either a really sharp chef's knife or a paring knife. And you'll have great control with either one, but it's very important that you're holding on to the bolster of your knife. And that's this part right here. So holding one end of your salmon pretty taut, you are going to run your blade back and forth pretty much parallel to your salmon. And so that means just as close as possible, getting up under those scales and sort of flaking them off. You don't want to do this too aggressively. You really don't want to hack through your salmon. But notice if you were to go like this, it does make it a little bit more difficult to get your scales off because you're not getting underneath each of those individual scales to flake them off of your fish. So you really want to keep your blade nice and close and tight. But you also don't want your scales flying everywhere. So you'll do this part pretty slowly and you'll work in sections. I love taking the scales off of all of my fish. I feel like there's a lot of value in it, mostly because that's how you ensure that you end up with super crispy skin. If you're cooking it with your scales on, it does make it harder for the seasoning to get in there. It makes it more difficult for you to achieve a great sear. And of course, scales are not the most fun to eat. All right, so we have descaled our salmon. Again, this is not a necessary step. It's more just like a fun tip or trick that ensures that you'll be able to actually eat your salmon skin if you'd like. You'll find usually that if you cook your salmon and the salmon scales are still on the skin, you'll end up only getting the pink parts of the salmon as opposed to that really beautiful crispy skin that's absorbing a lot of that other flavor that's sitting down at the bottom of the pan. So this just ensures that you waste a little less of your salmon. So now we're gonna make the glaze for our baked salmon. And we're just going to take about a quarter pouch of our gingery miso sauce. And we'll also be adding in about 2 tablespoons of honey. And now we will pour our glaze over our salmon and rub it all in with the back of our spoon. Make sure to get the sides as well. All right, now we'll sprinkle with just a little bit of salt and we'll throw on our red onions onto that parchment as well. And you'll just surround your fish with it. We'll also throw on another little sprinkle of salt for our red onions. And this will go in the oven at 425 for about 15 to 20 minutes. All right, so there you have it. We've made this really beautiful gingery miso baked salmon. We've got this gorgeous golden brown, slightly charred red onion, and we're just going to finish this off with a little drizzle of our gingery miso sauce, top it with this pile of red onions all over, and finish garnishing with a little bit of dill and parsley. All right, so as you can see, this recipe came together in under 20 minutes, only 15 minutes in the oven, only about 5 minutes of active prep time. This is a for sure winner when you put this on the dinner table. It's very easy to save for leftovers as well. So if you're looking to have a really flavorful meal the next day, you can just let this sit in the fridge overnight, and it's going to have all of that beautiful gingery miso honey glaze sort of get down into all of those little cracks and crevices and be even more delicious the next day. If you enjoyed this recipe, be sure to like this video and subscribe to see all of our future recipe videos. And for the full recipe and our textable shopping list, click the link below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, cook happy.